love to welcome all of our friends to our channel today. We are so happy that you are going to join with us and hear about some good books to read. Carla and I have not been able to get together in a while, and so we're excited.
And tell them why.
Well, I was in Iowa
Yes.
for 2 weeks to see my youngest, my son, and his family, the 3 grandchildren that live in Iowa. So that was a wonderful trip, always is, but we miss them, and hopefully we'll be seeing them before too long. It's always hard to say goodbye because it's going to be months before we see them again. But we're just excited.
Yes, we
today.
are. Yes.
Carla, what are we going to do special today? Because you told me.
Well, we're going to do a few things. Maybe we're going to really just kind of play it by ear. But I have had a few people comment to me that maybe we should try to make our reviews a little bit shorter. And actually, I have a lot of people that want us to talk more than do book reviews.
That's so cute. We're just becoming very popular personalities.
Hey, I was at a gathering yesterday at my work, and some people were telling me how they review the channel. They love to look at it, and they were saying, y'all are just alike. And I said, wait a minute. There's only one Carla.
And only one Gail. And do you know that is our only name? You know, Mother and Daddy just gave us that one. We don't have a middle name. I think that's unique and special. Well, you are Carla and I am Gail, and there's nothing else that goes with it.
And you know why?
Well, yes, probably. You tell me what you think.
Okay.
You might.
Okay.
Do you know the truth, or are you just making this up?
No, this...
Mama said it.
Mama said it.
If Mama said it,
Mama
okay.
said it. Our mother's name was Ruth May Coxwell, was her maiden name. And she did not like May, that real southern, and it was M-A-E. So she decided not to give her girls maiden names. Maybe she just, middle names. Maybe she just thought a middle name was southern.
Well, no, what I remember talking to her about is that so many of our cousins, her siblings' children, went by both names, Johnny Mac, Jimmy Joe, June Ann, and they're beautiful names. And, you know, but she just didn't want, she thought that was a little too southern maybe, and didn't want us to go by 2 names. But let me just say that May has become a middle name for some of my grandchildren, and
our grandmother's name was Essie May.
Yes, and so I think
maybe that was why, because that was her mother-in-law.
Right. Whatever the reason, we are who we are.
We are who we are, and y'all are who you are, and we're glad you're joining us today,
Yes.
and we're already kind of rattling on. Yes. So we are going to try today. I have a 3-minute timer here. Ooh. This reminds me
Pressure's
of
on.
Sands through the Hourglass.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? When we would play
Rummy Cube.
Rummy Cube. It came with a timer. Our mother bought a timer, and when you were trying to lay down your tiles,
hurry up.
She literally turned that thing over, and you did. It wasn't 3 minutes, I don't believe.
So
might
competitive.
Have been a minute and a half.
So competitive. I wonder who got that from her.
I can't imagine.
Okay, well, I'm going to start first. I'm going to turn it over, Gail, and you keep an eye on it. And if
I'm watching those sands.
I got to grab you in 3 minutes. That's just it. And you can go away, Yellow Jacket.
Oh, please, I do.
My first book, don't interrupt my 3 minutes, girl. My first book is by Clare Pooley. I don't have the book. I turned it back in. But it's called Iona Iverson's Rules for Commuting. I have read another book by Clare Pooley, and I enjoyed it so very much. Her books are just warm, you know, and the characters are all different. This is about a lady called Iona in middle age, and she commutes on the train in England to her job, and she has to go through about 10 stops. And as you know, if you've ever been on a train or subway, you most of the time just kind of sit there. Everybody's just to themselves, reading, looking at the newspaper, not doing anything. And she always takes her little dog with her. Iona breaks the rules. She reminds me of me.
I was just going to say.
She is a gay me. She's gay, but you love her. You just love her. And she takes her dog with her on the train. and she sits there. She always has the same seat. Well, this man across the street, seat from her, chokes on a grape one day, and a nurse comes over and does that Heineken maneuver.
But it does remove whatever's in there, so we can rename it.
That's right.
Remover.
I like that too. And so people start talking, and there's a group of about 5 of them throughout the book that are on this train every day, and they just get to know each other. They find out about each other's lives, and all of them have problems and issues, and they help each other through these with their friendship. And towards the end of the book, a group of them get together to help one of the characters that is really going through something difficult. I love this book. I loved her first book that I read, which was called The Authenticity Project. She's an award-winning author. Get this book. I didn't even go 3 minutes.
You did, girl. Now the pressure's on, isn't it?
It is.
Do we have to let the sands go out?
That's a good question. Yeah, you get a minute and a half. No, we'll give you the extra time. I'm going to give my time to you. How about that, Gail?
That's so sweet. Time is so precious. So
it is.
All right.
It is. Okay, girl.
Okay. For my first review, I am doing a 3-book series, and anytime that you pick up a book by Charles Martin, it is time well spent. That's all I can say. It's just wonderful. Now, this is his latest 3-book series. Now, Carla, I've been calling it a trilogy. And so I'm thinking, though, that might not be the correct term. You help me.
Trilogy means 3.
I know, but what this is, you must start with the first book because it's a cliffhanger at the end, and all the characters as well as the storyline continues on.
Well, let our viewers know then which is the first one.
Okay,
that
the
they
very
need
first
to read.
one is The Water Keeper.
Okay.
Charles Martin, The Water Keeper. These are going to be easy to remember, Carla. The second book is in the library, or actually maybe on its way to my library, because I did put a hold on it so that I could have it today, but it's not in. So the second book is The Letter Keeper. And so our wonderful editor Josh will put up a picture of the Letter Keeper so that you can see it.
Yes.
The third in the trilogy is The Record Keeper.
And for some of y'all out there that might be getting older in age, see if you can remember the one word that's in all the books. Real quick now. What is it, Gail? Keeper.
Okay. And this series, if I could pick one word to pull you in to these books, all 3 of them, it's rescue. The main thread is rescue of women and children that have been stolen, kidnapped, and are being trafficked or sold, being abused. So that's the main thread through all 3 of them. The other rescue that just really came to me after I finished all 3, the main characters have a sort of rescue of their souls, a rescue of their future. And some of the main characters were actually rescued out of a situation. But as they grew...
You mean when you say main characters, the ones that seem to have it together, they're not actually the ones being physically rescued, but maybe they've got some emotional baggage.
I don't want to give away too much, but for sure, Murphy, well, I'm going to have to look it up. Murphy Shepherd, for some reason his last name left me. He is rescued, as a child by Bones. His name is Bones. You don't find out about why he's called Bones until the 3rd book. It's so interesting, all the threads that he pulls together.
So he's rescued by a man named Bones, a nickname.
And it's a nickname,
yes,
of course. He is a priest. He is very, very deep in his faith and his love of the Lord and of the life that you can live with him day by day in you, and yet he does not have a church or a parish. His, what I would call his people, his church, which is the people anyway, are these that he's trying to rescue. And
Yes.
Murphy being the very first one, and another main character in the first book, Marie. So just
And they are all in all three books.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Well,
no, don't give
okay,
anything away.
I don't want to give anything away, but most of the characters, for sure, Murphy and Bones. Those are the two main ones, that the thread that goes all the way through. And if you're familiar at all with Charles Martin, his stories just grab you, page turners. Got to get
I love
this.
him. I do.
Yes,
yeah,
he's got to get this. It's his latest.
Okay.
Are you ready? Because I'm going to turn it
Yes,
over.
yes, I am
Thank
ready.
you for giving me a few extra seconds.
That's okay. You did 3 in a little over 3.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. This is my next one. The Day of the Jackal by Frederick Forsyth. And I have to tell you, I have joined a book club. First time I've ever been in one, Gail, this late in life. And it's a mystery book club, and I love mysteries, and I am enjoying it. But this was our first book, and the leader of the book club, she picked it. I have to say, it's not my favorite kind of mystery. You know, the mystery genre is wide. You can have legal thrillers, you can have horror thrillers, you can have cozy thrillers. There's just so many different types. This is more of the political genre. But The Day of the Jackal, oh my, Josh, we'll wait for that to go away and you'll do something. The Day of the Jackal was written back in 1970, I believe, in the 70s. It was Forsyth's first fiction novel, I believe. He had been a war correspondent. It came out that he was in MI6. And maybe that's one reason he has so much knowledge about all the details in this book. Half of the book, I struggled. Half of the book. It was called, gotta cheat, Anatomy of a Plot. And then it gets to Anatomy of a Murder. And I really liked it. Anatomy of a Manhunt, excuse me, they both start with M. Anatomy of a Manhunt. That part, from then on, I liked it. Very good if you like detailed spy type. He had all of these this hired assassin to kill the de Gaulle in France, and a lot of assassination attempts were made against him in reality, and some of this was based on reality. And so I enjoyed the whole last half. And you know, when you sit around and talk about it, you end up liking it more just because you're sitting with a group of people that you're enjoying discussing it with. But I'm only going to give it a 2. It's not something I would normally read. That first book that I just reviewed of Iona Iverson's Rules for Commuting, I want to give it a 5. So that's really all I have to say about this book. I do want to say it's kind of one of the most skillful assassins against a little policeman and the rest of the world. And so it's pretty good if you like that type. Pick it up.
I forgot to give the stars for my 3-book trilogy series by Charles Martin, and I would certainly give them a 5 because each one actually a standalone a 5.
Yeah, sometimes there's an author that almost every book they write's a 5. You know,
he's one of my faves.
Yes. I tend to, though, even with my faves, they're not all going to be 5. But the ones I have read of Charles Martin, I would give a 5.
Let me ask you this, Carla: is 5 the top?
Well, it is in what I have seen
in
on
booktubers
BookTubes
and in book reviews.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering.
And I think a lot more goes into it subjectively than objectively when people give the ratings. Right. Okay, girl, it's your turn.
My turn next. Okay. While we were doing our vlog of the story shop, I hope you have seen that. If you haven't, pull it up. It's wonderful. The shop is adorable. It's just will grab you. And Julie, the shopkeeper that was there that day, she was so delightful and she was so kind, and she took the time to take us around to different rooms. The books were divided up into age groups, and one of the
and
rooms,
there were none for our specific age group. You know, those almost back in diapers.
You're a nut. But no, she took the time to show us in the YA. I'm learning all of these specific anagrams, right? No.
Yeah, for young adult.
Yeah, young adult.
That is an anagram.
Yes, and you know, I probably wouldn't
And
have.
she saw us and she said,
We're acting like young adults. Carla, my time is slipping through. Anyway, she showed us and introduced us.
No.
Me for sure. You already had read one. She introduced me to Ruta, Sepetys. And there are a 4-book set that they have there at the store that you can buy in softback. But I'm on fixed income. There's no way I can buy a whole 4-book set, but my library had all 4, and I have been able to read the first 2. You don't necessarily have to read them in order at all.
the first one I read was Salt to the Sea.
Okay.
And I don't think that's the first one.
Well,
is
yeah,
it, Gail?
the first one she wrote is Between Shades of Gray. So I'm basically going to go ahead and do both of them because these are historical fiction. The second one, like you said, is Salt to the Sea. It's Between Shades of Gray, Ruta, Sepetys, and Salt to the Sea.
And I think, Gail, didn't this was her first book.
Yes.
And I think it won like the best first book author's first book award, something like that.
Probably did, and I should have reflected on that.
You
but
keep
I'm
talking, and I'm study
reviewing
it.
a lot. I'm reviewing a lot of books today, and so I should have looked. But these books, historical fiction, they are written around the time of the early 1940s, and we hear so much and read so much and know so much about what happened with Hitler and the Nazis and the Jews and what he did to them. But this is what Stalin from Russia did to particularly Lithuania, which is the country that Ruta's heritage, her ancestors came to America from Lithuania. And these books share in detail and yet in a beautiful way what the struggles and the horrors that the people went through. They were taken from their country, and particularly the ones in Lithuania, the ones that they came and captured were those who were educated. My time is up.
No, I'm
okay.
saying keep going.
No, they were educated, or maybe they were
going.
wealthy, and they didn't want them to have any say-so in anything, and they took them to Siberia, or they took them to a place where there was usually no food, little water, freezing temperatures, and so typical of what was going on, the evil and the hatred. And so pick these up, both of them. You got my other one there, girl. Did you find that it won the award?
Well, I'm almost positive I read that, and it says on here international bestseller of Between Shades of Gray, and I believe it did win an award, but really it won an award for us.
Yeah, definitely. And it was time well spent to read, and I'm going a little over time, but pick these 2 up, and I'm going, my TBR are the next 2 that she wrote, and so pick.
And I have all the ones I have not read. I have them from the library.
I do too. I have the other 2, and they are due, and I've used my last renewal because I've been reading a lot, and I'm going to go today and see. She said,
just check it back in.
Bring
check it
bring
back
it in. You probably can renew it if nobody's has a hold on.
Right.
So.
Thank you, Gail. And just briefly, YA. For a long time, I didn't want to read a novel if it was YA because I'm like, oh well, now these people, young people are not quite as mature. They haven't lived as long, so the books that are going to be for them aren't really going to be for me. totally
and that
wrong.
is why Julie recommended this.
I think so.
She had read them. She knew the depth of the characters and the true story. She knew that it would be something that we would want to read.
I think books that are being written for our young people, I would say that's probably high school age. Yeah.
Yes.
Are really good, and I loved them. And I found out that I have read a lot of books in the past that I did not know were YA. So I got out of that stereotype, gal.
Absolutely.
So,
We don't need to do that.
and
sure.
what did you give us a rating?
I would give a 4 to both of them.
Okay, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And just to prepare you, there are sorrowful parts of both books because
World
of what
War
happened.
II, yeah.
And so it grabs you, but there are also
Redeeming.
yes, there's some good parts.